Okay, we've got the clock. And I think that's working. Already got a lot of people jumping ahead in the chat, telling me where they're from. We've got Kentucky, Austin, the UK, Orange County, New Hampshire, Pierce County, Germany, Phoenix, Forestville, Wisconsin, Lincoln, Nebraska. First time making it to the live stream. Well, good to see you, Floyd. Cleveland. Good morning from Cadia. Ooh, bad news. Poland, Edinburgh, Mississippi River, San Antonio, Colorado Springs, Spain, Georgia, and here we are. So, it's been a while since I've done a live show, and that's only to say that I missed last week because I was at Gen Con, where I purchased this stylish fez. My fourth fez, actually, from Fezorama. Not an ad, but they're always at Gen Con, and they sell these sweet handmade fezes. This one has got Black Phillip, the goat, on it. Black Phillip is from the movie The Witch. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? If you haven't seen The Witch, you should totally check it out. It's pretty good. And evidently the eyes and the teeth glow in the dark, though I have not tested that, but that's what I was told. What else have we got? New York, Cleveland, Canada, New Jersey, Madison, Wisconsin, Cologne, Germany, Newmarket, UK. One of the upsides, I just realized this while looking through the my calendar on my phone. One of the upsides to kind of sort of missing the week of Gen Con is that it changes the schedule for the every other Sunday show. And in doing that, it now does not conflict with the Nova Open, which I'm going to in Northern Virginia / DC at the end of the month. Because originally I was gonna, it was if I would have, let's say, done a live show somehow from Gen Con, or if I hadn't gone to Gen Con, it would have screwed up Nova Open. It also would have screwed up Valhalla at the end of September. So now, because of the change in the schedule, I should be good for quite a long time after Valhalla. Am I traveling anywhere else this year? Maybe, but I can't think of it right now. So anyway, yeah. So that's the one benefit to missing last week. So again, for those of you out there, I apologize, but as you've seen in the past, anytime I try to live stream from the road, it always ends in tears. Frequently mine, sometimes yours, I guess, maybe not. Floyd says, also got a fez at Gen Con. First time there, too. Lots of firsts this year. First fez, first time on the show here, first time at Gen Con. Much love from Philly, says Drew. That's very nice. Duluth, Georgia. Electric Dragon says, dropped my airbrush nozzle and all the threads broke off. That is a bummer. Hopefully you can get a replacement for that. Let's see here. 12 Neef saying, good morning from Brooklyn. We've got California, Czech Republic, Romania, Colorado. Let me see here. Gianna. Hey, Gianna. Good morning. Finally recovering from Gen Con. Yeah, Gianna and Dawn and the rest of the Beast of War crew, I ran into them a couple of times during Gen Con, and got to meet Sam Poots from Beast of War, who I had never met before. I also got to re-meet Justin, who I met last year a little bit, briefly, but we got to hang out a little bit, and of course Dawn and Gianna, they're great. And so yeah, it was but they were very busy. They were cranking out the videos. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and it takes time. Like, I didn't really make any videos at all. Like, I shot a bunch of stuff for Instagram, which I'll show you a little bit later on, and I did some of that. But otherwise, for me, it was mostly meetings and looking at stuff. But a lot of meetings, and also I was there, also repping hard for Game 4, because we're talking to publishers and things like that. So yeah, it ended up being more of a business thing for me I didn't play. I don't think I played a single game. Did I play any games? I don't think so. I watched a bunch of demos, but I did not play any. I was generally kind of busy. I did buy some stuff, which I was going to do kind of a Gen Con boot. The thing is, I didn't really buy a lot of stuff. Like, I bought a couple of little things here, obviously the Fez. But I didn't buy a lot of stuff, honestly. Yeah. Anyway. Northern Ireland, Nebraska. What else have we got? Mexico City, Dubuque, Iowa. Moderator Matt is here. I see him. Hola, he says, which is Spanish. And yeah, we also hung out, Moderator Matt and I, at Gen Con. He was running the Wreckage RPG to many full events. Like, he ran it a whole bunch of times. He was also super crazy busy, and most of his events were sold out. So that was also awesome. Had one group that decided not to play the specific kind of scenario that he had set up and decided that instead they wanted to become rat farmers. You know, it's post-collapse. You eat what you can eat, and then destroy other rival rat farmers. And so because it's an RPG and because Matt's a good GM, he was like, okay, and rolled with it. And they had a good time, and that's the important part. Morning from rainy Texas. Painting some Zombicide today, says Trey. Here it is currently bright and sunny. It's not going to get crazy warm today, I don't think. And also I think the humidity should be better. I probably should have waited till today to prime the models that I primed yesterday. It was a touch humid when I did it, and I don't think it should be bad. I think it should be okay. We will see probably later this afternoon, because what I generally do if I'm going to prime with a rattle can outside, I do that. I prime with the rattle can. And then I leave the models in the garage overnight, because when you spray the rattle can, it seems like to me, like if you pick up a model, even if it's dried, like it's a 15, 20 minutes, an hour later, if you smell it, it will still smell like rattle can propellant. That's what really makes the majority of the smell. And so they always tell you that you want it to outgas. So that's the propellant kind of coming out through the paint, gets trapped in the paint, and then finally floats away into the ozone layer, which is maybe, but yeah. So I don't like to stink up the house even after spraying. Bringing them in here and letting them sit. So I've been letting them sit out in the garage. So hopefully, when I go out later on today to get them, hopefully they won't have gotten weird on me. But they looked pretty good last night. I can actually show you a picture of some of the Space Marine group I did. I evidently didn't take any pictures of the Necrons. I could have swore, because I primed 5 Necrons to add to my 3 Warriors, which are already done and painted, for my kill team. And I swear I already had them all. I swear I took a picture, but then I was just looking through my phone to put them into the thing here. Nothing. Not a thing. Marcus says, I pre-ordered the Grandmaster edition of Adeptus Titanicus yesterday. I'm such a sucker for games around that scale, and Adeptus Titanicus looks to be a superb compromise between BattleTech and 40K. Yeah, when I started thinking about it like that it was like a BattleTech version of 40K, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I have not. I mean, I saw it at Gen Con. They had they had it in. They weren't running it like as a game. They just had it in a case, so you could look at it and go, yeah. But I did not get one. They didn't send me one. I don't know. I'm assuming it's because it's maybe more for. It's probably not the first game you're going to play if you're getting into wargaming, maybe, and that's probably why they didn't do that. Or it got lost in the mail, or they hate me. I don't know which. But yeah, so I was wondering, like, oh, I wonder if I'll get one or not. And then I started seeing, like, yesterday some other channels showing off, and they're like, oh, hey, here's the stuff. And so I'm like, oh, all right, it's already been sent. That's cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's if you like that scale, if you like BattleTech, if you used to play Epic, then I hear that it's pretty good too. So there's that too. People are loving the Fez. That's something I should wear Fezes more frequently on the show. Let me see here. Hello from Mallorca. Love your videos. Well, thank you very much. Adeptus Titanicus is going to be super limited release. I pre-ordered it as well, says Brian Schmidt. Wow, that's weird. I don't know why they would make such a a super limited release for plastic models like that. I don't know. Maybe that's why I didn't get one. Muffin the Panda says, hello. Thanks to you, me and my best friend got into Age of Sigmar Army. I have a Seraphon, and she has Beastclaw Raiders. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. That sounds great. I'm always glad to hear when people kind of finally take the step and get into wargaming, and if I can help make that happen, I always enjoy it. So that's cool. Chris says, good morning from cool and rainy Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Working on some Gaslands vehicles. There was there was a lot of Gaslands games going on at Gen Con 2, so that was very cool. It was neat to see. And I'll show you a picture later too. They had a big championship, the Gen Con championship, and there was a trophy. So yeah. Michael Strange says, finally broke ground on the Kill Team starter box terrain. That stuff is a lot of fun. Actually, the day after I got back from Gen Con, I went to my local game store because I had ordered from them, and they had purchased the big terrain set. So like there's the terrain that comes in the Kill Team starter box, but then they also came up with several other sets you could buy of the terrain. And there was the big one, comes with those two big statues that you've probably seen online. I think it's called the Basilicum or Basilica, something like that. Anyway, so I picked that up because I had ordered it, and I have not actually been able to crack it yet and start working on it because I've been working on models. So yeah, that's the trick. Hey, J-Tick, how you doing? I'm a heresy maniac, he says. I was pumped for the Adeptus Titanicus, but the price point broke me. I'm thinking I'm going to skip it. Yeah, you are a 30K person, definitely. You're hardcore into that, I know. Yeah, I swear I read the box set was like $290. So unless that's just like the special edition, there's going to be a cheaper box set. I know they were selling a bunch of the parts separately as well. But I know I honestly, I know that yesterday it went on to pre-order, and I was busy on building and doing all kinds of other stuff after finally having a weekend off. So I didn't actually pay attention super close to the pre-order. I just knew then, as I was looking through my YouTube feed later on in the day, I saw that like Mini Wargaming and Beasts of War and a couple others had videos about this stuff. So there must have been an embargo release date thing and all that jazz. So yeah. JTix also says it's not a limited release. This is just the first wave of it. They're going to do a second wave if this one sells out, which makes sense. Matthew Perez says, Uncle Adam, did you attend Critical Role at Gen Con? I did not. I heard, I swear I talked to somebody who did, and I can't remember who it was. It might have, was it John from Gigabytes Cafe? Or was it somebody else? Somebody else I know went to it. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I know that, I don't think this is their first time at Gen Con. I don't think. But I know that it was kind of a big deal. I don't really roleplay much, so, but I know like what they're doing, and well, I know of what they're doing, so that's cool, yeah. Tyler Martin says, hello, Adam, I must have missed the story with the Wicked Fez. To your Friday video, if you get First Strike box, you get 6 Marines, 6 Poxwalkers, and 3 Death Guard. Yeah, a lot of people in the comments mentioned that. The Fez I got at Gen Con. This is Black Phillip. He is a goat. He is from the movie The Witch. You should watch it if you can. I think it's on Netflix. As far as that First Strike box, I should have probably mentioned that, I guess, in the video. So a bunch of people said that for like, I think it's $40, that First Strike box gets you basically the 2 Adeptus Astartes boxes that I mentioned, the easy to build Primaris Marines and the easy to build Reavers. So right there, you're paying $40 instead of $30, but then you're also getting a $15 box of Death Guard, and you're also getting a 6-man box, which is also $15 of Poxwalkers. Now, from what I understand, a couple of people also in the comments, and I would need to run the numbers, I haven't checked it yet, but if you just go with those 6 Poxwalkers and the Death Guard, it's a little difficult to hit 100 points. So maybe that, but I guess I have never even really looked at the First Strike box, but if you were looking, I mean, it is cheaper than $50, so it's probably a pretty good situation. Marcus Sunbomb says the Grandmaster Edition was 175. Well, I must have seen something else weird then. Yeah, I should probably look at the actual stuff and see what they do. But yeah, the Adeptus Mechanicus. I mean, the stuff that I saw at Gen Con in the case looked really cool. You get basically 2 like kind of warlord style, Titans, and then you get 6 total, 3 for each side. Basically Imperial Knights, but the Imperial Knights are like this size, and then the warlord, they're bigger. So it's for those of you that don't know, Adeptus Titanicus is a much different scale. Like if a normal Imperial Knight for 28mm scale, the normal ones that you've been able to buy for years, if those are say 7 inches tall or whatever, in this game they're like the size of a Terminator, because the scale is shrunk down. So buildings are only like 5 inches tall or 4 inches tall and that kind of stuff. So everything gets more like what you would generally call maybe 6mm scale instead of 28mm scale. Space Marines would be, like individual Space Marines would be like a 1/4 inch high maybe or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the way. That's what it's based. Well, I don't know if the rules are based off of Epic, but it's the same style of game as the old school game Epic 40K or Epic 40,000, which had tiny little Land Raiders and Warlord Titans and all kinds of cool stuff like that. I used to watch people play that at Gen Con when it was in Milwaukee back in the day, but I never played it myself. I used to watch a lot of games when I was there. I would go there and I would buy some things, and then I would just watch games. Sometimes I would get into demos, but a lot of times I would just sit back and watch what was going on. A lot of Necromunda I watched. I watched a lot of Epic. I watched a lot of regular 40K, that kind of stuff. Michael Strange says, Uncle Adam again, or thanks again for the Kill Team Force under $50 video. It should be pinned as public service announcement. I don't know where you would pin it. Like, I guess it'd be lovely if YouTube put it on their front page or whatever, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Loves Muffins 123 says, I am sad I didn't see you at Gen Con. There's a lot of people there. It's 60-some thousand, 62,000 I think they said this year. I could be wrong. So it's funny because there's some people you bump into over and over again, and there's other people that were like, well, and you just never see them. So yeah, it's interesting. Marcus Sunbaum says, I mean, you're getting 2 Knight-sized models and 6 Terminator-sized models, terrain and all the card stock. Oh, I haven't looked at the card stock. Well, I want. Is there like a board? I bet you there's probably a board. The Mini Network says, "Hey, Adam, have a lovely weekend." Well, thank you. I so far so good. Electric Dragon says, "I'm working on the First Strike models right now." That is a good set, I think. Then definitely, if you want to get into Kill Team. J-Tick says 175 pounds, not US dollars. Well, there's a conversion thing right there. Sebastian says, love the treatment you gave your Kill Team terrain, especially the turquoise floor. Can you tell us how you did that? I've been on the road since May, and mine isn't going to get painted for 3 more weeks. So yeah, the floors that I did on my Kill Team stuff, actually it was super crazy simple. I used Secret Weapon Miniatures, has a line of washes. So Secret Weapon Miniatures makes mostly, they make a lot of resin bases, like custom resin bases and cool stuff like that, pre-made resin bases with all kinds of textures and stuff on them. And they make a bunch of other things, but they also make a full paint line and a wash line. Now, their washes are kind of like glazes. I've talked about that before. But anyway, so the color I actually used is called Sapphire, which is a blue. But when it goes on to that kind of tan color, it started to skew green, which I really liked the look of, actually. And all I did literally was just kind of slop it on heavy and then kind of moved it around with the brush a bunch. And then in some areas it dried darker than others, and then it looked like, from a distance, at least in those pictures, it does look a little bit like a green marble or something like that. But it is so simple. It's just that sapphire color over that kind of tan stuff that I did, and I just kind of put it on there thick with a big brush and let it sort of pool up in certain spots and be a little thinner in other spots, and it worked great. There was no other no other trickery involved in that. Getting my tassel stuck in my glasses. Putting together a Kill Team for Necrons. Do you think flayed ones are worth the points in a Kill Team? I have not put flayed ones into my Kill Team. Partially it's because Yeah, they're great in close combat, or at least better than regular, stock Necrons. But I don't know. I'm kind of more of a range guy. That also, I don't think you can get flayed ones like in plastic. I think you can only get them in metal if they're old, and resin if they're, less old. So, yeah, no, I've not got any flayed ones in my list. I ran downstairs real quick and grabbed my iPad so I can look at, if we're interested a little bit later, I can do some, we can do some, look at the lists a little bit. Anyway, what else have we got here? 8 Gene Stealers, a good list. I mean, for less than $50, it's not a bad list, I think. Now, in that situation, you're completely going close combat, which, like I said, generally I like to be more of a range person, but yeah. When I build my Tyranids list, it is going to be a mixture of Tyranid warriors, which are expensive point-wise. They're like 20 points each. And also, currently, they only seem to be a web store exclusive, so you can only get them from the GW website, so which is a bummer. Or, I mean, you could probably find them on eBay and yada yada. But, yeah, so I went and ordered them from the GW website, and they were not too expensive. It's just like 3 guys, though. So I got that, and so I'm going to use at least 2, maybe 3, all 3 of them potentially in a list, but at least 2, certainly. And then everything else is going to be Gene Stealers. But I'm going to be getting next week that box, the Kill Team starter box. It's got the Gene Stealers and then the 2, the shipping containers and all that stuff. I'll be getting that. My local shop didn't get them in this weekend. They'll get them in like Tuesday or something like that. So I'll pick them up then. Whether they're a competitive list, I'm never the guy to ask because I'm not a competitive player. So I've got no experience in playing in the tournament scene, at least not for the last. I mean, I have played in local tournaments like in my shop years ago, but it's been a very long time, and I stay away from tournaments. So I'm never that guy to answer that question, sadly. Brian Griffith says, I can say from experience, Secret Weapon concrete and stone washes are goddamn sorcery. Yeah, I really like a lot of their washes. And especially, you're right, both of those are great for terrain. The other one that is a magical bottle of mystery is the color called parchment. If you're painting terrain, like metal terrain, or whatever, and you want it to look kind of sun bleached, even if it's like a tank, if you wanted like a tank to look like sun bleached, like it's been out in the sun for a long time and it's a little dusty too, you just take some of that parchment color from Secret Weapon, which is, again, it's a wash but really a glaze. You take like a fat brush and you just brush it down. You don't brush it up and down. Sometimes you can. It depends on the surface, but generally you just brush it in streaks down. Man, it makes everything look good. It makes it look so real. It's almost like a filter, which for scale modelers, they'll know what a filter is. But generally, like if you think about it, if you go to and this may be only an American thing because we're weird, but if you go to like sometimes a park and there will be like an old like World War II tank just sat in the park for reasons, like it's all obviously decommissioned and whatnot, and it's just sitting there like as a thing to go, hey, look, we used to, do this or whatever. Anyway, if you look at those, they've been sitting out in the sun for a long time, and like no matter how much you polished, it would never get like shiny. They were never shiny to begin with because they were tanks. It's not like they clear coated them, but you see what I'm saying? They've got that very kind of bleached, like out in the outdoors look and kind of matte. But you take that parchment stuff and you put it on terrain or big vehicles. I wouldn't put it on people. That would look weird. But man, that stuff I love. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of those colors there. I've been working on the Kill Team box set. How y'all reach the inside of Skitarii robes, asks Esther. I generally kind of don't. If I can barely see it, I don't concern myself too much with painting it. If I can get up in there with some primer or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, those I haven't started painting mine yet. I've built from that set. I've built 5 Vanguards, and then I'm going to build 4 of the Rangers, and then I'll have that's going to be my 100-point list. At least my initial one. Eventually, I might get some Rust Stalkers or Infiltrators, but it'll probably be a ways down the road. It depends on if I like actually using AdMech. I've never run them before, so that's another one of the benefits I think to this whole Kill Team thing is I can run armies that I've never run before, like Tyranids, and see how that works out. John J says, how does Age of Sigmar Skirmish compare to the variety in Kill Team? It's a little along the same lines in that you can not, like, you know, how in Kill Team some people are like, yeah, but I can't take Terminators, and I can't take, you know, Ghost Keels, and I can't take Land Raiders and stuff like that. I've had people in the comments being like, do you think that I'll be able to take motorcycles? I'm like, no. it's that's called 40K. You play 40K if you want a bunch of vehicles and huge stuff. In this, it's Skirmish. It's small people. It's kind of like that in Age of Sigmar Skirmish in that you can't take a lot of big stuff. You can only take kind of a limited number of things. What happened is after they released it, some people sat down and looked at, because they don't give you points in Age of Sigmar Skirmish, they give you renown. So you would look at it and say, well, you can take this many renown in your list, and then you would look at the models that they allowed in the book and say, this is this many renown and this is this many renown. Well, somebody sat down and did the math and figured out that there was an equation where if you took the points from Age of Sigmar and then you did this equation to it, it turned into renown. And it was the same all throughout that entire Skirmish book. So they're just like, well, that means I can take any model, run this equation on it, and turn it into renown and use it in Skirmish. At which point, then you're like, yeah, but now you're bringing a a Terrorgeist into Skirmish, which seems silly, or a Glotkin, or the Skaven catapult that throws poop. I mean, why would you bring? That's not a Skirmish thing. So anyway, yeah. So I would, if you play the rules of Age of Sigmar Skirmish the way they're supposed to be played, then I would say it's got some kill teamish stuff in that there's a limited number of types of troops you can take in every army. So yes. Excuse me. Joshua Duggan says, do you know of anywhere where you can get images to print out as a base for terrain, like a print your own game mat? No, I don't, sadly. Like, I've been kicking around the idea of making a 3-foot by 3-foot, wargaming mat and working with a company to get them made. I talked a little bit with Frontline Gaming about it because they've got their own machine for printing locally, and they don't have to send it to China and stuff like that. They can print on demand. And then I started working on like, okay, well, I'll start working in Photoshop. Well, you need a really big image in Photoshop to make that texture, and it also, you can't just keep repeating the texture over and over again, because then when someone unfolds it, it'll look stupid. So it's actually surprisingly hard to make a really big terrain mat image like that, which is why sometimes you see companies that make ones that just don't look very good, and there's other ones that do good work. And I think that's partially just like how hard they worked on the file. Like, I've got this idea and I keep not doing it, partially because it's like every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, I should. I have to like it's a day off, like it's a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'm like, oh, I should go do that. And then it's like too sunny or it's raining. But I have a drone, and what I want to do is go. There's a parking lot not too far away from my house where I would like to take the drone up high, point the camera straight down, and take a bunch of pictures of the concrete, because there's no. It's not a parking lot per se. It's like, so there's no stripes, and all that kind of stuff. So if I took a bunch of pictures of it from above, then I could, in Photoshop, piece those together and make like a big, like, kind of like almost like a concrete slab type of 3-foot by 3-foot thing. But if it's too sunny, then it doesn't look right. It needs to be like a cloudy day, and then but not raining. And so that's where I've been at. So yeah. Let's see here. Where else have we got? But yeah, so it's not easy to make those giant mats like that. It's the actual artwork itself. It's very surprisingly difficult. But there are companies that do it. Inked Gaming, I believe, is the name of the company. They also do it. Like, they just do it for anybody, whereas like Frontline, I believe, has the ability to do it, but it becomes more of like a licensed deal and all that kind of stuff. But if you just wanted to get like a single, like 3-foot by 3-foot mat, and you already had the artwork or something that you already picked out, I'm pretty sure there's a company called Inked Gaming that can do it. So yeah. Alexander says, nice fez, by the way. Thank you very much. I got it at Gen Con. I can't tell if it's crooked. I think that's pretty good. Kraken Slayer says, Uncle Adam, for the Heretic Astartes and Kill Team, shouldn't I be able to bring Chaos Raptors? No. I haven't bought the book yet, but I haven't found anything canon about them on the web so far. Yeah, no, for Heretic Astartes, you can only bring regular Space Marines, or regular Chaos Space Marines, and cultists. That's it. Kill Team has got limits in what you can bring, so that it's kind of a bit more fair. Nobody else almost nobody else in the game has any ability to fly. Technically, if you take the grapnel launchers, I think they're called, for the Reavers, then they kind of have the fly keyword, but it's not exactly the same. So yeah, I don't think that there's no jump troops in the game that I have seen. So yeah, Raptors aren't going to work out. That's just kind of the way it works. Atlas Bushcraft says, personally, Kill Team feels more like a 40k version of Mordheim to me, especially with the injury tables and the character progression. Also, how unforgiving Kill Team is. Yeah, it's got a little bit of that. I think that Mordheim is a little bit more... Well, I was going to say I think Mordheim's got a little bit more character progression and things like that, but technically you have some of that with Kill Team as well. Kill Team has got a very... you know, like as your specialists can go up in levels as you play in a campaign setting, but it's not like in Mordheim everybody kind of goes up potentially in skills and things like that. Whereas in this, it's just limited to the specialists. So there's that, yeah. Everyone is saying yes about Inked Gaming. They have a lot of different products. Like, if you wanted to get if you were into Magic cards and you wanted those mats that you play on, they do those. They do a bunch of cool stuff. Tau stealth suits have fly. Well, see, there you go. Some of them do. I'm getting a bunch of people telling me that Tau stealth suits have fly. I'm kicking around doing a Tau army again, too. I haven't played Tau in forever. Like, that was my first 40k army, but I was looking at it, and I was like, as it turns out, I do have a box of stealth suits in the basement somewhere. So maybe I might do that. Also, some people are saying flip belts, which is that flip belts is Harlequins? ? I think that's right. So yeah, but yeah, they some of the Deathwatch has just got one unit. Grey Knights have just got one unit. Throughout all three of the different Chaos ones in the Kill Team book, they've all got 2 units where it's basically like Plague Marines and Poxwalkers, Chaos Space Marines and Cultists, and Rubric Marines, which is hard for me to say for some reason this morning, and Zangors. I'm probably going to do some Rubric Marines myself, but no Zangors, because I just don't like the way they look. I kicked around the idea of trying to figure out a way to kit bash them and instead make them goat people and give them guns or something, but I don't know. That may be down the road. I'm going to definitely, for $50, get in a box of Rubric Marines and just being able to have a lot of fun painting them and doing all the cool stuff with them because they're just crazy looking models. That'll do, probably, down the road. But I just don't like the Zangors. I don't know why. I mean, they're well done models. They're just not my aesthetic. I just don't like the look of them. The bird people kind of face, I don't know, it's not my thing. But, like I said, if I could give some guns to goat people, that'd be kind of cool. Let's see here. What else have we got? JP Got Rocket says Tau stealth suits are pretty fly for a blue fish guy, and also the greater good. We used to call them. What did we used to call the Tau? Kami fish cows, because they're fish like, but they have hooves. And that greater good thing is communism to some degree, I guess. So yeah, I think we used to call them commie fish cows for a while. Not when I was playing them, of course. Well, again, it was like my first 40k army. It was in 5th edition when they stunk a lot. So yeah, but I still have some of my Fire Warriors. I sold most of my stuff that wasn't painted yet, but I don't ever sell painted models, so I still have, I don't know, 12 or so Fire Warriors. I don't think I ever really got much into drones, which was also part of the problem with my 40k army, or my Tau army at that time. And so, yeah, if I do go forward and get into doing Tau for a Kill Team at some point, I think, yeah, I'll have to. I've never really used drones much, so. Christopher Peterson says Mordheim and the new Necromunda have more role-playing elements to it than Kill Team, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Kill Team, like the only kind of even role-playing, not actual role-playing, but the only kind of like character progression type things are for the specialists. And it's basically, for the most part, like you go from level 1, and then if you make it to level 2, you get to pick. What do I go this way or that way? And it's kind of like a tech tree sort of situation. That's pretty much about it. Yeah, there's not a lot else going on there. It's not like, you know, Mordheim. It's not like Necromunda, like New Necromunda. It's not like, well, I was going to say it's not like Frostgrave. But Frostgrave only allows you to really upgrade your main, like, wizard and your apprentice. You can't, well, and you don't even really upgrade the apprentice. You really mainly just upgrade the wizard, and the apprentice kind of learns this stuff at the same time. And then if your wizard dies, then your apprentice becomes the wizard, and you have to get a new apprentice. But it's a whole thing. Yeah, definitely. Joshua Daniel Flores says, late to the show, but I'm glad to be here. Greetings from the Philippines. Hey, how you doing? William Blevins says, yo, Adam, I saw you from a distance at Gen Con. Well, that's if you got a chance, you should come up and say hi. I talked to a lot of people at Gen Con. It was really, that was another big reason, a big fun reason to go, is just that there's so many people there, and I can talk to so many viewers and kind of, you know, like just communicate directly, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, so that's a lot of fun to do. But the Tau home planet was described as arid. I don't understand the fish references. I don't know. I think it's because they're bluish and sort of... They got like a weird gill in the middle of their forehead, I think. That's part of the fish part, partially. Plus they swim. No, they don't. I don't think they swim. I think it would be very difficult to swim with hooves. I'm just saying. Brian Griffin says, if you ever need to get rid of your Tau kill team, Sam's your guy. That's very true. If I do ever need to sell it, I can talk to possibly the best Tau salesman ever, Sam Lenz, and see what he can do to kind of help me out. There'd be a commission involved, certainly, obviously. But that's a good point. E1 Miniatures says, the 40k gores would look pretty nice. I did a leader for my Necromunda gang built from some excess Raptor bits in a gore box. I actually have... I was originally building it for something else. I don't even remember what. I just started screwing around with it. And now I'm going to be using it as a kill team. But I need to finish up some other parts. I need to finish up some Tempestus Scions or whatever. So I've got a normal regular Imperial Guard force that I'm building. I was at this small little convention outside of Detroit last month at a place called Imperium Games in Wixom, Michigan. Huge, great store. And they had a lot of used stuff. They've got this section where they've got like a lot of used stuff. Like they'll buy it and then they'll flip it and sell it. And so I was looking through. They've got these big plastic cubes and there's like plastic baggies inside. So I'm looking through, and one of the cubes was marked Imperial Guard. So I was looking in there and I found a bunch of cool models. So I bought those, thinking that I was going to use them for kill team, which I am. But then I remembered this other kind of project I had sort of started where I was trying to make basically Trader Guard. And I forget what the heck I was going to use them for. Maybe it was, I think actually it was for Shadow War, Armageddon. Anyway, so what I was doing was I was taking Imperial Guard bodies, but I was gluing Beastmen heads to them. So like the normal like lasgun toting lasgun toting guardsmen had the full-on goat faces with the big long horns and the whole deal and the snarls. And then when you got into like the special weapons guys, like maybe they got a grenade launcher or a plasma gun or whatever, then they were the Beastmen heads that have like not quite as big, horns. Like they've got the smaller horns and less of a snout. And then the leader was a Tempestus guy, with the big jacket and all that stuff. And him, I had him be just straight up like human, but I put a different head on him. I put like he's got like a bald head. He's got a bald head, and he's got a like kind of a beard or maybe big mutton chops. I forget what the heck where I got that head from, but I put that on there. So my idea basically is that they're Trader Guard, like the rank and file are mutating faster, and then the guys who are a bit smarter that they give the plasma guns to are not mutating quite as quick, and the boss is like kind of running stuff and everything, and he's not mutated much at all. But yeah, so that's going to be one of my armies too. But yeah, when you put, I don't think I have any pictures. Maybe I got one on my phone, but it's really difficult to get on my computer. That is the one thing I kind of like about Macs and iPhones is it's super easy to just airdrop stuff over, but I wish you could do that on PCs. Anyway, so yeah, the Trader Guard, when I get that done, that'll be a lot of fun to look at and to play with. But I'm just going to run it as normal Guard, but just the fact that they've got that totally different kind of thing going on. Those heads look really great on them. I'll have to post a picture maybe on Instagram. Simon says, "Hi, Uncle Adam. I'm looking at getting back into wargaming with Age of Sigmar and Kill Team, but have a hard time choosing an army for Age of Sigmar. I like too many of them. Got any tips for choosing an army?" I made a whole video about choosing an army. It was a couple of years back. Mostly, I generally pick the armies I like based off of how much fun I think I'm going to have painting it, how much I like the look of the army. To some degree, I will also like... I'm not super into... Oh, there's some sort of cat shenanigans going on over there. I'm not usually into like real close combat armies too much. I'm generally more of a range person. I mean, in Age of Sigmar, you're going to have a lot of close combat. It's kind of the way it works. But for a lot of times, how the army plays a little bit, like whether they're shooty, whether they're fighty, that kind of thing, that is a consideration. But also the look and how much fun I'm going to have painting it. That's really kind of a big consideration for me. Beyond that, like how competitive they are, the meta, all that kind of stuff, that's not usually coming into my mind. So, yeah. JP Got Rocket says that Victoria Miniatures has Beastman conversion kits for Cadians. Oh, I should look into that. That's cool. I like the stuff from Victoria Miniatures. They do good work. Zechariah says, just picked up some guardsmen for an Imperial Defense Force. Well, that's cool. Skaven. I don't know if you could do 40k Skaven. Maybe. Like, they would need, I don't know, bolters or autoguns or something? I'm not sure. That's a good question. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, or maybe E1 Miniatures is saying to the person up here who's trying to pick an army for their Age of Sigmar that they should choose Skaven. That's also not a bad idea. Skaven are cool. My main army for Age of Sigmar, this is one of the nice things about Age of Sigmar is that, and even to some degree 40k, but really Age of Sigmar, is that you can mix and match a lot of stuff. Like my Chaos army is like Nurgle, kind of like Blight Kings, and that kind of stuff, as opposed to the more demony kind of, Nurglings and all that kind of stuff. So it's Blight Kings. It's got some of those Varangard guys in it. It's got... what else? Beastmen, and it's also got Skaven in it because all four of them have the Chaos keyword, so you can mix them all together. I'm not going to get the benefits of going completely faction pure and getting the special allegiances or whatever. But again, I'm not out trying to win. I'm trying to have a fun time because I think that gaming should be fun. Hagdorn says, also, hi Adam, your videos have been really helpful with my recent interest in mini painting. I'm about to start painting within the next week or so. Well, good to hear it. I enjoy it. I mean, for me, the building, I'm in build mode right now. I haven't actually painted in a while because I've just been building models, although I've been doing some priming, so I'm getting very close to switching over. I have a tendency to not hop back and forth, like be building these guys and the next day painting these guys and all that kind of, and I have a tendency to do a bunch of building and get a bunch of stuff, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm done, and then I go into painting. Sometimes on certain projects, like when I did the terrain for Kill Team, that was like I had a deadline, I wanted to get the video done in the right amount of time and all that kind of stuff, so then it was build, and then immediately switch over and paint. But right now, like I said, since then, I have just been doing just straight up building, some priming, but mostly building, and then hopefully the next week or so I will then switch over to just paint mode, and then I'll just be painting all the stuff that I've primed. That's the way at least I do it. Hey, Emily. Emily says, I used the Game4 app to find and call a store while out of town last night. Picked up a few more models to round out my Gene Stealers. My goal is to have them painted before Nova Open. Oh, that'd be pretty cool, too. yeah, I'm glad that the Game 4 app helped you out with that. That's one of the benefits that I think we don't sometimes push as much as we should, is that the Game 4 app, and if you don't know, the Game 4 app is, you can go to, let me see if I can type it in here, www.iamgame4.com. That didn't make it into a link for some reason. Maybe I have to put the https://www.iamgame4.com. No, didn't make it a link either. All right, anyway, you can figure it out. You're smart people. Oh, there it did. Now, finally, it takes a sec. Yeah, so if you go to that, the Game 4 app, one of the big benefits of it that is not like the one that we maybe push is the fact that if you travel, you can always find the closest game store to you just by pulling out the app. It's got a database of currently more than 6,300 stores worldwide. So no matter where you go, you can pull out the app, and because in the past, if you want to find a game store, you go to Google, you type in game store, you're going to find video game stores, you're going to find used video game stores, or whatever, that kind of stuff. Maybe you can go onto Facebook. That's also got limited results. This way, like, we've done all that work last year, at the end of the year, 2017, for quite a while, and built this database, and we've been updating it. Like, when we first launched the app back at around Christmas, there was 5,800 stores, and now, like I said, we're over 6,300. So we've been taking out stores when people say, hey, this store's closed. We check to find out, hey, is it actually closed? We check it out, like, okay, cool, it's closed. We take it out. We've been adding stores. Store owners have been reaching out to us and saying, hey, can you add my store in there? That kind of stuff. So there's a lot of other benefits to the Game 4 app, but one of the big ones is the fact that if you travel, it's very easy to find always the closest store to where you were at. When I was showing it off to people at Gen Con, there was a store called Goodman Games? I don't know. It was something right, like, seriously, like almost across the street from the convention center. So there was always a game store within less than a mile. So that was helpful. Hack Hank says, love your fez. Well, thank you very much. Got it at Gen Con. What else have we got there? Nicholas says, I just started painting my Night Haunts from Soul Wars. It was my first time painting models. Any advice for painting ghostly dudes? One of the kind of easiest ways that you see a lot of people do it is they prime them white, and then they use one of the new colors from Games Workshop that it's designed kind of for painting ghosts. It's like a kind of a glazy sort of either a light green or a light blue, and then you can do a little bit of work. They've got a video about how to use them. That's a quick and easy way if you want them to look ghostly. If you don't want them to look like spooky, transparent, ghostly, and you want them to look a little bit more solid, then you've got some other options as well. The ones that I did, the Night Haunts that I did in the video a while back, those have got a bit of airbrush going on there to help, but you know, you don't need to do that necessarily. I would definitely try to, like almost every model, I generally try to do some sort of shading, whether it's airbrush, whether it's with rattle cans, that kind of stuff. But sometimes it depends, but it just kind of makes them look a little bit more dynamic. First Prospect Gaming says, I just picked up some Thousand Suns Rubric Marines for Kill Team, my first foray into Chaos. Wouldn't have done it without your video and quick $50 or less teams. Building now. Thanks, Uncle Adam. Well, again, as always, I am glad to help. Yeah, I mean, again, like I've said a bunch of times, what's nice about this new game is it allows you to kind of dip your toe into army lists that you probably would have never done. Like, I would have never bothered to do Tyranids, not that I think that they're bad. I just was like, I was always interested, but I was not like painting 100 or 200 models interested, you know what I mean? Because they're a big horde army. At some point, I might do orcs, which I've never done orcs before. But again, I can do like less than 20 orcs as opposed to 150 orcs, which is what you normally would need, like in a big, like 2,000 point list or whatever of, for 40K. So there's a big benefit, I think, to that, and just as a modeler and a hobbyist, I really enjoy that. So yeah. Peter Grimm says, Adam, your tip videos have been super helpful since I recently got back into modeling and painting, especially your baking soda basing video. Thanks. That one took some time to do. Not specifically, like the day that I filmed it did not take forever, but if you watched all the way to the end, you will go back in time about 2 years to when I initially tried to do that video, and then glued the base to my finger, and then once I got it off my finger, I glued it to the table. So yeah, that was the blooper reel at the end. And I had told people that I had tried to make this video and failed, and then a lot of people were like, hey, you should try it again. And so a couple of years in the making, but I did finally pull it off. It's honestly almost in every situation, it's the type of basing that I've been doing. Since I've started doing stuff for Kill Team, like all my Kill Team bases have been that sort of urban style that I kind of did a video about a couple weeks ago, about how where you really don't put much on the base at all. You use like the main texture of the base. You throw a little rubble on there, like maybe some kitty litter or some salt or something like that, or whatever, or some sand. Sand is probably going to work a little bit better than salt. But I've been putting very little texture on because then I go back and I paint it to look like asphalt or like concrete, more like asphalt. And so yeah, all the Kill Team stuff I've been doing that way, just because I don't know, down the road, I may have like set up and play Kill Team games on something that doesn't look like an urban-y kind of setting. But most of the definitely the stuff, like the board that you get in the main box is very urban. Every other idea I've got for terrain and stuff like that for that game is very urban. So that's why I'm doing that. And it's also really super quick. It's quicker than doing any other kind of thing because you just put a little bit of glue on there, sprinkle a little stuff on there. Maybe you put a brick or a skull on it and you call her good. And when the painting comes, it's painting it dark gray and doing like a dark wash and then coming back with a dark gray dry brush and then maybe just a little bit of highlight and you're done. So yeah, that's it's not for everybody. It's not for people who are building big armies. It's not for people who are playing, obviously, anything kind of fantasy. But for, like I said, for Kill Team, those kind of urban bases are quick, simple, but they still look good on the normal terrain that you'd be playing the Kill Team on. So Emily says, I'm rushing to build my models, but since I'm out of town, I had no basing bits. So I called a friend from work and was like, you have cats, right? I have already given a pill bottle of cat litter to a friend of mine who wanted to use it for basing and does not have cats. So I just, a little scoop and took it to a friend of mine from work. But yeah. What else have we got here? Philip Matthews says, same here, Adam. Always wanted to do orcs. May also dip into Tau. Yeah, see, that's one of the cool things about it, I think, definitely. Fabricio. I may have pronounced that improperly. I apologize. I am building my Death Army, and I am thinking about other factions models to paint as an undead version to use them as White Kings. Any suggestions? So like an undead something else from a different faction. Well, Undead Chaos could be cool. Like undead undead Sigmarites would be neat, but I don't know how you would do it. Like, you'd have to paint them super grungy, obviously, a lot of, like, you know, distress and dirt and stuff like that, and then just maybe give them a skull head, you know, like take off the, like, don't put on the normal helmet and just put in like a skull. That might work. I mean, you might have a hard time finding just the right type size of skull so it doesn't look weird. Because really, it, like, well, I mean, there are some there are some, you know, Sigmarines that have no helmet. But I think if you put a skull in there that was the right size, even then it would still maybe look a little small, which it should because it doesn't have meat and head and hair stuck to it. So yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting, though. I could see that. Or Undead Orc would be kind of cool, but I don't know how you would do it. Because I would think, like, it'd be kind of cool to have, like, maybe part of the arm, like, just completely degloved so there's no flesh and there's just, like, a skeletal hand. But trying to find a big enough skeletal hand that would be orc-sized would be super tough. Yeah. Maybe, like, a Chaos Sorcerer. You could get one that's already kind of skinny and then just have some extra. That might be kind of cool, too. You got some options. I think you got some options. But, like, definitely some of them, like, orcs would be super difficult to make an undead orc. Other than just painting it to look like a zombie and maybe like having it sort of beat up and tattered, but orcs are kind of beat up and tattered anyway, you know, like, so it might not be enough of a contrast. Anyway. What else have we got? Any tips on priming when it's over 100 degrees out in the middle of monsoon season here in Phoenix? I would tell you to get an airbrush. I mean, that's why I bought one. Not because it was over 100 in monsoon season, but because it's Wisconsin, so it was, you know, -3, and right there, that's enough. Yeah, I would definitely tell you to probably think about getting an airbrush and to do that kind of stuff. Put, you know, airbrush your primer. Then you can, like, even if it's just for primer alone, you buy a cheap airbrush and you start priming with it. You're going to be happy because you'd be like, hey, I can do this inside where it doesn't suck and doesn't stink up the house and everything. And that's great. And you can also get into all the nooks and crannies a little better, you know. And then you'll be like, well, you know what I can do now? I can start to shade from above with a different color. So I could do like a black primer and then shade from above from white and give that kind of underpainted look, zenithal highlighting. And then after a while, you're like, well, now I can start base coating, and now I can. And then eventually, all of a sudden, you're doing all kinds of airbrushing, and you're really upping your paint game, and it looks really cool. I would honestly tell you in those situations to do that. If you try to go outside when it's that hot, now if it's Arizona, well, it might be humid if it's monsoon season or whatever. A lot of times, from what I understand, you know, Arizona's pretty dry. But the problem is when it's that hot and dry, sometimes the paint can actually start to dry. The speckles of paint, the atomized paint, can kind of almost start to dry on the way to the model. So when it hits the model, it looks powdery, and you don't want you don't want that. I've done that on accident before. So yeah. Brian Griffith says, isn't Krell basically an undead chaos guy? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, if you can find that model. I mean, if you can find him in metal, he sort of sucks in resin. If you can find him in metal, like on eBay or something, that'd be a cool way to go. But, I mean, he's just a cool model anyway. Let me see here. What else have we got here? JP Got Rocket says, years ago I mixed a bag of play sand, decorative sand, like what they put in glass vases for flower arrangements, and river and beach sand with a bag of kitty litter, basing from that mix for years. Yeah, honestly, a little bit of work like that, putting it into a jar or whatever, that can be your go-to for basing texture for a long time. I've got a little pill bottle full, because I like to keep them separate because sometimes I do different things. So I've got like a big jar of like black sand that I got from the hobby the hobby store, not the hobby store, the craft store. And then because they had like a whole line of all these different colors for making like candles or something, I don't know. And so yeah, I bought a big jar of black sand. I've got kitty litter, obviously. I've got my baking soda. I do have small little rocks and things. I've got my little jar, my little pill bottle full of the little bricks that I make. I did a video years ago about the bricks. That was a lot of fun. Fred Golightly says, Necron arm and leg bits might work for that undead look on orcs. If they were in 40k, yes. Now, that being said, if you used like a Necron leg or arm, and then did some green stuff over it, and you use the arm almost like as a basis, or like a base, or like an armature, as they would call it frequently in sculpting, you know, as a starting spot, basically, and then you made bone, like orc bones over the top of it, that'd be cool. To be fair, do orcs have bones? They must. I mean, I know they're kind of basically plants, but I don't know if they have bones or not. They probably do. Camden says, hey, Uncle Adam, how many D6s do I need for 40k? Playing Blood Angels. You know, if you're playing Blood Angels and you're not playing orcs or something like that, or Tyranids or whatever, yeah, I mean, you can frequently buy one of those little cubes of like the smaller ones, and you get like, I don't know, 36 in there. I think it's like, because it's like 9 per level, and then there's 4 levels. That comes to 36? Pretty sure. Like, that would probably be fine. But if you want bigger dice, you know, I would say if you've got at least 20 dice, you're probably okay for Space Marines. It's rare, unless you have like your entire like 10-man tactical squad runs in and for some reason gets 2, like maybe 3 attacks each. I don't know a lot about Blood Angels, but in that situation, then you might need as many as 30 dice. But in general, like, yeah, you don't need a ton. Whereas like orcs, when they charge in and you bring a whole bunch of them, sometimes you could end up throwing 80 dice, you know what I mean? So that's kind of a thing. Uncle Jim says, Kill Team is super dangerous. You look at the rulebook and think, oh, I can now build Necron Kill Team and Scions and Tau. Yeah, that is a very good point. That's a very good point. That's kind of the trick, I think. Leo says, how long do you wait before starting to paint after priming? Generally about 24 hours, or at least overnight, but generally about 24 hours. I have found that if you start trying to paint too soon, very frequently the paint, especially with airbrush, will not have properly cured, and you might end up rubbing some of it off. But if you let it sit for a good long time, I mean, it doesn't happen as much with rattle can, but still, I would let that definitely, because the thing is, too, is I'm wondering sometimes, while it's still outgassing the rattle can, while the propellant is still kind of like coming out of the paint that's hit the actual model, I wonder how that affects any acrylics and things like that go over the top of it. But I generally let her sit for a good, at least overnight, and if I can go closer to 24 hours, I try to do that. So yeah. Brian Griffith says the big box of orc skulls, or the big box of skulls that GW offers, has a ton of orc skulls in it. Yeah, you're right. I have it. I guess I thought about that after I said it. I think I actually have that box here. I do. Huh? Check that out. Ask and ye shall receive. Yeah, some of these look like orcs. I mean, maybe... Is that an orc skull? Come on. Focus, you jerk. Well, sure, fine. Don't focus. All right. How much fun is this, looking at a blurry box? Anyway, yeah, so I really need to start using these because I have them, and I need to sit down and start using them. I've been using, actually, my go-to has always been like skulls from Secret Weapon Miniatures. I've got an old bag of skulls from them that are all resin, and I generally just have those on my painting, my hobby table, and so I use those for a bunch of the models that are in my new kill teams. But I should really start using these guys and use. I mean, obviously some of these skulls are way the heck too big for just regular basing. Like that one in the middle is kind of huge, but yeah, when you see that, like a human skull is like the ones down here. I don't even know what the heck that thing is, but it's massive. That's something you're going to use for a very specific project, maybe terrain, whatever, but works out well. So we've determined that probably they seem to have skeletons, the orcs. Zachary says, we is fungoids, not plants. Well, it's a fine line. What do we got here? Someone just asked a question. Oh, Karimi? I may have pronounced that incorrectly. Has your voice always been nice to listen to, or have you worked on it? I mean, I guess before puberty it probably wasn't, or, it was at least higher, certainly. I've not particularly worked on it. This is pretty much my normal speaking voice. Sometimes, like after going out or going to a thing or something like that, my voice will get lower. Like, like if you have to, like let's say you're at a bar and you have to yell to be heard because it's a very loud bar. There's, bands playing or whatever. Like the next morning, my voice will be even lower. And I think sometimes then I should definitely try to do some like voiceover, but that's hard to plan, but yeah. Ryan Anderson says, so 24 hours even with a rattle can? If you want to be safe, I would honestly, yes, probably. Now, that being said, if you go with like I just did, the priming I did yesterday was with Krylon black camouflage paint, and it probably, because of the way that it sticks to plastic so well, it probably was safe. It's probably safe by like 12-ish hours, but I still also want to make sure that all the outgassing and all that stuff happens. So yeah, that's why I generally, like, I probably won't, well, I won't be painting them today anyway, but I'll bring them in the house later on this afternoon. I think I painted them yesterday, like we were just before going to dinner. I think I painted them around 7 p.m. So I'll bring them in the house, but I won't, I won't be painting them for a while because I'm not in paint mode yet, but Michael Strange says, almost broke 500 concurrent viewers just then. Uncle Adam, what's the most concurrent viewers you've had? When I first started talking about the new 8th edition, when it was announced, I did a Sunday video about 8th edition, and I think it broke 800 and something. I don't remember how high into the 800s, but there was a because at the end of the video, when I go look at it, there's on the back end, there's a thing that says, oh, hey, this is the number of minutes that were watched or hours or whatever the deal is and all that stuff. But it also then has a peak concurrent number. And so I generally look at that just to go, oh, how was it? But yeah, there was one that was over 800, but it was an 8th edition one. So, but yeah, it's been going well. Things have been going well with the channel in general. I am just about to hit 98,000 subscribers? Question mark? Let me look at my phone here. I was answering a bunch of comments this morning. Right now, 97,943. So probably easily by the end of the day, it'll be at 98,000. I will probably hit 100,000. I will hit 100,000 still this month. Today's like what, the 12th? Yeah. I'll probably hit 100,000 before I go to the Nova Open. So if you see me at the Nova Open and I have hit 100,000, you can say congrats or whatever, or just say hi. That's fine too. But yeah, if you honestly, for those of you that are, especially if you live sort of nearby, if you live near Northern Virginia, DC, any of those areas like that, think about going to the Nova Open because I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to doing my seminars. If you're going to Nova Open, take a look at the seminars. Sam will be there. He'll be teaching, although I suspect his seminars are probably sold out. I haven't looked to see, actually, if they are or not, or if mine are. I'm doing 2 seminars. I'm teaching YouTubery, and so if you've got the time and the interest there, come and check that out. I swear at some point they said that there was going to be like an area, like, where they're like, okay, we'll have you over here and you can do autograph signing. I don't know that that's going to be. I have signed a couple of autographs in the past. Normally it's more just like, hi, how's it going, that kind of stuff. Sometimes a selfie, but whatever. I like to it'll just be a spot where I'll be able to like sit at one point and people will be able to come to me, and that's cool. So yeah, if you're definitely going to Nova Open, and if you can get to Nova Open, you should give it a try because I'm hearing really good things about it, and it's for charity. So yeah, definitely. If you are going to Nova Open, I hope you get to be able to get a chance to say hi. Nova Open is, from what I understand, around 2,000 attendees, whereas Adepticon is 4 to 5, and then Gen Con, where I was just at last weekend, is like 60 some, which is why it's crazy go nuts there. Yeah, let me see here. Nazter says, hey, Uncle Adam, got a Gen Con question for you. Did you happen to stop by Catalyst Games to see what they are doing with Battletech, or is Battletech not your thing? Battletech was my original thing. When I first started getting into wargaming back in like middle school, I started with Battletech. This is before weren't even using miniatures. We were just using little cardboard standees, like with a little plastic little thing, and that was how we used to play on the hex board. I did stop by the Catalyst booth to see if they had First Strike. I think it's called First Strike. It's First Strike or Alpha Strike, I forget which is their new kind of streamlined rules, to see if they had the book yet, and they did not. I don't know. And I even asked him, like, well, can you get it on PDF? And he's like, well, you can get the original one, but not the new one. So sometime allegedly this fall, that book is going to come out finally, but yet they've been selling the models for it for a long time. I don't understand, but there it is. So, because I'm interested in First Strike, because I would like to try the rules, the more streamlined rules, but it's kind of crazy. So let me go over here, not there. What was I going to, no, here. Oh, no, there. Well, let me talk about Gen Con a touch and just show you some pictures that I did while I was there. So this is my Instagram. I need to fix the logo. That's the old version of the logo. As you can see right here, like up here, that's the new logo, and this is the old logo. Let me go back and look at, okay, so this was after this was on Thursday. I got to Gen Con on Wednesday afternoon, early afternoon. But you can't get your media, you can't get your media badge until Thursday morning, like at 7:30 or whatever. So I got up early and went and stood in line and got the media badge, and that was cool. And then they've got one of those big kind of banners with the Step and Repeat logo on it and stuff like that. So I took a picture in front of that. Okay, this was at the Osprey booth, and the Osprey booth Had a lot of different stuff going on, but they also had a huge pile of Gaslands, which I'm sure they did not take home with them because it's been selling like crazy. But this is a picture of the Gen Con Gaslands Championship 2018 trophy. So somebody made the car up on top and did that, and then they glued it to a trophy. And so I was told that they went to the trophy shop, and the guy at the trophy shop was like, "Well, do you want something like really nice and elegant and kind of new?" And he was like, "No, we want something that's kind of weird and hokey looking and kind of old." And so that was what they ended up with, which I think is a great looking trophy. So, but yeah, that was cool. And I think I watched some games. I don't think I took any pictures. So this was the Infinity booth, and this is right after, like, this is on Thursday morning, like right after right after the show opened at 10 a.m. and everything just went crazy and place filled with people and all that kind of stuff. This was probably the biggest Infinity booth that I've seen since they've been coming to Gen Con, and it was pretty well choked with people buying stuff right away at 10 o'clock on the morning. They had a bunch of cool convention exclusive stuff and all that kind of stuff and whatever, and also like some super cool looking terrain. Like, they always make amazing looking terrain. It'd be, I think, like playing a skirmish game, like playing Kill Team on something like this would be a hoot, I think. But yeah, so that's kind of their thing. What else? Here's me and moderator Matt having a beverage out in the beer garden. I think this was on Friday. Pretty sure, yeah. This was the beer, which was a Mexican-style lager, and it was called Pachanga, which is almost like Pachao, but not quite. That is not why I bought it. I bought it because it wasn't a pale ale. I just don't like too many hops. So, but yeah, we it was not too hot in the shade, and we had a good time and hung out. There's a lot of selfies this year, it seems like. This is after I got the Fez. See, now this is like Fezception here, because you got this Fez over here, and then there's another one over, I can't even, anyway, over here. There. Down there. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so actually I had this picture, my friend John from Gigabytes Cafe down near Atlanta, huge store down there. He took the picture. So, yeah. And this was a company called Mythic Games out of the UK, and they're the guys who did Joan of Arc like last year, which was a smaller, not 28mm size. This was just kind of them showing like this new game that they're going to be doing Kickstarter for, I think in November. And I just happened to walk by, and as soon as I saw the models, I was like, whoa. And so I stopped and took some pictures because they were pretty sweet. It's a game called Reich Busters, which will be coming out. And it's going to be kind of like a gateway game. It's going to be like a board gamey miniature game, maybe along the lines of like something like a Zombicide, you know. So that's cool. But just really cool models, like that guy is astounding. I think that's an amazing looking model. And then of course, like, that's what stopped me in my tracks. I was like, I got to take a picture of that. That thing was spectacular. So you know how I like weird World War, pretty much anything, specifically too. Yeah, definitely super cool looking. Someone in the comments said very Wolfenstein-esque. So that was really cool. This was a company called Monolith Editions, I'm pretty sure. Yes, Monolith Board Games is what they do on the Instagram. And it's like a Batman game, and they had like a big cool Batcave diorama in a case that you could see all the cool models and whatnot. And it was pretty interesting stuff. I liked it. They had a lot of the different characters from, obviously from the comics. Like, you had Bane over here, and that looks like the Joker. And you got, what's his name, lizard dude, something Kroc. Anyway, I don't remember. Ray Kroc, yes, guy who started McDonald's. You've got the giant Tyrannosaurus that's in the like, I'm assuming you're not fighting this, but if you've ever watched like old school, like the cartoons or even some of the early movies, like the Michael Keaton, I think, the Batcave, and you also saw it in the comics too. The Batcave always had like a Tyrannosaurus Rex like stuffed in there, which I don't know the story behind that, and also a giant penny, and I don't know, but they had the giant penny here. It's just not in the photo. But yeah, and you get the Riddler and some other dudes and a big lizard. That was pretty cool. Really super nice models. This was one night in the this is one of the things that's super cool also about Gen Con if you're into gaming, is that it runs all the time. Like, this was the hotel I was staying in. This is where, like, normally the continental breakfast and stuff is. This was like 11 o'clock at night, and it's just nonstop, always, like, gaming going on, like, all night long. So yeah, like that over here, that little spot right there by where my cursor is, that's where you get omelets in the morning. And the one next to it is where you get happy hour in the afternoons. So you get drinks for free over there if you stay at this hotel, and it was spectacular. But at night, it's just nonstop, mostly board gaming, but also RPGs and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's one of the things that's really cool about Gen Con, is it runs, you know, all the time. Why can't I go? Oh, I guess that was it. Oh yeah, so I was at the end. So yeah, that's, I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't take a ton of pictures, but a lot of times at events, if I'm going to be showing you stuff at the event, it's frequently Instagram, so I kind of do that. And yeah, so that was the stuff that I did. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know, if you're interested in that kind of thing, that's the thing you could do. Let's see, what do we got here in the people talking about pachanga. It was tasty. I liked it. It was fine. I'm not a big beer guy, but that was pretty good. Killer Croc. See, I knew it was something Croc. It was Croc. Cannibal Croc. No, that doesn't make sense. Killer Croc. There you go. Hey, Uncle Adam, I wonder if you would still recommend the new Necromunda, or if the hype for Kill Team right now killed it. Well, I mean, it depends on whether you want gangers or you want regular 40K models. That's honestly a thing, because the new models they're making for Necromunda, all the new gangers that they've created, you know, the Orlocks and the Van Sars and the Eschers and the other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. Goliaths, that's another one. So it was Goliaths and Eschers in the main box, then the Orlocks and the Van Sars. I own the Van Sars because they're super cool. A friend of mine bought them for me, kind of as a present, and I'm using them for Wreck Age, actually. But anyway, there's a bunch of great... That whole model line has worked out really great. So if you're into that model line, then I think Necromunda is still a good game for that. But if you're like a lot of us here in the chat and myself, where you're like, you know, I've always wanted to play Tau, I've always wanted to do Tyrann, then I would say definitely go into Kill Team. The thing is, if you feel that you are in danger of buying like too many of them and dipping your too many of your toes, or you're in danger of like, oh, I want to play these guys, and then you end up with a full 40K army, that won't happen with Necromunda. Like, you can't build a 2,000 point Necromunda army, because that's not a thing. So, you know, if that's a concern for you, then maybe you want to look into Necromunda. But if you want to be able to build a bunch of different cool 40K stuff that you've never been able to really build before, because you don't want to do so many of them and you just want to do a little bit, Kill Team's, I think, going to touch that perfectly right there. Simon asks, hey, Uncle Adam, I'm in Australia. Should I convert my land speeders to right-hand drive? That sounds hard. A little bit, kind of. Well, maybe not. But, I mean, it's up to you, you know, if you want to. That'd be kind of funny. But it does sound a little difficult, because usually the guy with the heavy bolters on the right side, and then, yeah, maybe. It might not be as hard to do, but... I don't know that a lot of people would get the joke. Maybe they would. But yeah, Cawdor, that's another one that's in there. Thank you, I appreciate that. What would you say the best Kill Team build for Deathwatch is? I know to make one of my melee fighters a black shield, but what about the other characters? What weapons should they have? Well, let me tell you that I don't have a black shield, so therefore I probably don't know what I'm talking about. I'm never the one to come to for strategy or for the best builds. I can tell you what my build is. If I can get my iPad out over here. Let's see here. So my Deathwatch build is... So I've got a Watch Sergeant with a Xenophase Blade and a Combi Plasma. That's my leader. And then I have a Veteran with the Stalker Pattern Bolter and a Power Sword. I have a Veteran with Combi Plasma and Power Sword. And then I have two Gunners. I have Gunner number 1 with the Deathwatch Frag Cannon and Gunner number 2 with the Infernus Heavy Bolter. That comes to exactly 100 points. Is it the best list? Probably not, but it's it does allow me to use 2 heavy weapons, which I like, and a bunch of combi plasma, and so that's what I went with. Again, probably not competitive, or at least not very competitive, but again, I just wanted to build those guys, and I wanted to have both of those big heavy guns in there, and so that's why I did it. They're currently primed, so they're actually, why don't I do some showing of some pictures? Oh geez, Siri, stop it. Nope. Okay, all right. So I need to click on this, and I need to click on this. All right, so this is from yesterday. This is my Astartes list, kind of, and this is my, I'm going to be doing them Black Templar. So years ago I built Black Templar for 40K and bought all the fancy extra shoulder pads and all the extra cool stuff, and then the Black Templar all of a sudden lost their codex and just got folded into the regular Space Marine codex, and I was bummed. I had painted like seriously like a squad, maybe even half a squad, like 5 guys just as a test, and then I never really went forward with them. So then when the time came, when 8th edition started up again, I went back and I looked, and I'm like, hey, you know, I have all these guys who are built as kind of you know, Black Templar, so why don't I think about doing something differently? So what I did was I decided to make this list. I made my own chapter called Silver Cross, which looks like Black Templar in the iconography, but they're going to be blue and their shoulder pads are silver. Okay. And I have a 2,000 point army built. All their shoulder pads are done, the texturing, the whole thing's ready to go. They just need to be primed and get going. Then when it came time for Kill Team, I'm like, okay, so am I just going to make more Silver Cross for my Kill Team? Because then I can maybe move these guys in and out. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, meh, I don't know if I want to go that direction. So what I'm doing instead is actually making these guys Black Templar, since basically chapter tactics don't really matter at this point in Kill Team. So the shoulder pads, because these are the press fit, you know, easy to build Primaris guys, they are difficult to, you know, to kind of convert. Like to take, you know, these shoulder pads are all part of one piece, so you can't just like pull them off and put different shoulder pads on. So I used the icons from Shapeways. You can buy a bunch of different icons from different, you know, chapters and things, or things like chapters. Obviously, like if it's like a specific, like if it's Blood Angels, they don't really, you know, because it's copyright and stuff. But this is a Maltese cross. It's not really copyrightable or trademarkable or whatever. So, but they're already perfectly curved to fit the shoulder pads, so they're really easy to kind of glue on there and use. So, yeah, so this is my Sergeant, and not only does she have the shoulder pads, but also she has a different head because she is a lady. This head came from Statuesque Miniatures. I decided I wanted my Sergeant to be female, and so I went with that, and she's got the big bolter rifle, maybe stalker bolter, I forget exactly which. And I've got some extra little parts you can kind of see here. I grabbed some other little parts from Black Templar bits that I had laying around. So she's got like a thing hanging off her belt with like a, I don't know, it's like an incense burner or whatever, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to painting these guys up. This is what they looked at like after their first coat of black primer. So you can also see on some of them, I've got the extra, over here you can see there's like little purity seals, but they're special Black Templar ones, so they've got like the, you know, Maltese cross thing going on. This is a Reaver, which is why they don't have, the Reavers have like one regular kind of shoulder pad and one not regular kind of shoulder pad. Like this one's got the trim around it and the other one doesn't. So only on the trim one do I have the icon stuck on. Whereas the normal Primaris, where they have 2 shoulder pads, both have trim, then they get 2 of those things. I've also got just a regular bog standard scout with a bolter, and I've also got a scout with a sniper and a camo cloak and all that stuff. So it's right now, my list is 3 Primaris, 2 Reavers, 1 scout, 1 scout sniper. I can get into more specifics about that too. After I got done, after like I let this sit for a while, then I tipped them all over like onto their backs, and then I sprayed them, because like maybe you can't see it, but like on this one and a little bit down here, you can still see the blue plastic, you know, kind of because you're spraying from above, kind of, and it only hits the top parts. So if you really want to prime well, here's a tip: after you're done, tip them over. Not you're not done, but let them get to the point where they're not tacky much anymore, and then tip them onto their backs and spray kind of up, to get it underneath all the under the chin and all that kind of stuff, and then let that stop being tacky, 10 minutes or whatever, and then flip them over onto their tummies, and then do the same thing, kind of shooting to try to get up underneath. That's the easiest way to do it, I find. Also, you'll notice I've got these models all sitting on an old sprue. That is basically to keep them off the cardboard so they don't stick to the cardboard, and it kind of, a lot of times you can set them in a spot where they barely touch anything, and then I find it to work a little bit better. You can only do it for so long before the sprue starts to get kind of dusty and weird, and then you got to chuck it. But it's a good use for rather than just throwing away old sprues. This was from a couple weeks ago. This is my kill team, or my Death Watch kill team I was just talking about. These guys are also primed. These guys, I'm going to spray a dark gray with the airbrush straight down kind of on them to give them, because I'm trying to, I want them to be black because they're Black Templars, but I don't want them to be that black. So obviously, what you do is, and I did this back with my old Black Templars, is then I use a very, very, very dark gray spray to kind of do the highlighting, and then I throw a black wash, sometimes a brown wash if you want to look like a little bit of a warmer black, depends. And then kind of go from there. But with these guys, I'm going to do only dry brush highlighting for the black areas. I'm not going to be spraying them from above, partially because of the way that they've got these weird collars that kind of go around their necks. So I'm going to definitely try to get that top edge of that collar to be lighter with the dry brush. And then they got these big pouches. So I'm going to try to, there's not going to be a lot of dry brushing going on because there's not going to be a need for it, but I'm going to do some. Certainly on their helmets, that kind of stuff. But so much of the rest of these models is so kind of colorful. They've each got their own chapter symbol. You got a Flesh Terror over here. I forget which other ones I have. And then, of course, they got the silver shoulder pads and all that jazz and all that neat stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at with those guys. But they're primed and ready to go. My Space Marines are now primed and ready to go. These are my Death Guard. They are primed and ready to go. You also saw these in a video recently. This was them outside. I did not have them on the sprue because I forgot to bring a sprue outside that day. These guys were sprayed with the Krylon dark green color for the camo, because there's two different greens. There's a light green and a dark green. They were sprayed the dark green color first, and then I used the light color like a sand color. There's two greens, and there's two greens, military type greens, two like khaki kind of sand colors. One's darker, one's lighter, and I sprayed up above, from above, so there's underneath there's still green down in the crevices, so you have this sort of weird, unnatural looking tan to green fade, which because they're Death Guard I think is going to look cool. This is more of a studio shot that I did, but you lose some of the green in this. This is daylight outside, and you can kind of see it a little bit more, whereas in here you can still kind of catch it in the lower areas, kind of underneath, in those bits, but this was a little bit higher contrast, so you don't see it as easily. I could have swore I had pictures of my Necrons that I also primed yesterday. I didn't, evidently. I thought about it and then didn't do it. But, they're Necrons. I primed them black, and then I'm going to airbrush them silver from above to kind of give them... but I'm going to use some different washes to help differentiate those guys. I did also kind of customize a little bit, the leader's the leader, and the sniper guy's the sniper, but I've also got a veteran who I have put, I put a bunch of purity seals on my veteran, Immortal, because my thought is that he's been fighting for a long time, and he has started to, after he's downed Space Marines, take the purity seals off them and take them off of the dead Space Marines and then put him on his own self, almost like a trophy. So he's got a couple of different purity seals on him, so that's my veteran. And then I've also got a comms guy, communications Immortal, and what I did is I drilled a hole. Let me go here. I drilled a hole in one of his shoulder pads, because they got those shoulder pads that kind of come out straight. I drilled a hole in his shoulder pad, and then I took an old Voxcaster communications backpack from a space, not or from a Imperial Guard, and they've got a long, tall you know, they've got a tall antenna, but then they also have that one that comes up and makes like a circle. I just clipped that off and sort of shaved it down a little bit. So now there's this this Necron guy he's an immortal, but he has an antenna just kind of coming out of his shoulder. So that's how I know that he's my comms guy. So that's fun too. Anyway, I'll show some pictures of those on Facebook or on Instagram soon. Like I said, could have swore I shot some yesterday, but it did not. Yeah. All right. So, what do we got going on here? Got a bunch of questions. Uncle Adam, why haven't I thought of using old sprue for priming? It works. I think it works really well. Yeah, it's a good idea. Peter Grimm says, when creating a kill team, do you have to roll a d10 to select the specific mission, or is their overall goal as a kill team, or is their objective in this? The stuff at the beginning where they're telling you, like, you've got all that, you know, you roll d10 and find out their names and their what they're doing and what, that's all just kind of fluff. Like, it doesn't seem to have any actual like game related crunchiness to it. I think it's just for fun. So I've not really messed with it too much, but Richard says, what is Deathwatch? I'm far along out of 40k. Last time I played it was 5th edition. Kill Team is sparking my interest. So Deathwatch is a specific chapter, kind of. Basically, they just hunt aliens, and they're made up completely of people or Space Marines taken from other chapters. So when you join the Deathwatch, usually you get recruited to the Deathwatch by killing a whole bunch of aliens in your normal, you know, daytime, you know, Space Marine job. And then they're like, hey, you're really good at killing aliens. You should join the Deathwatch for a while. So then you come to the Deathwatch, you paint your armor all black, except for this shoulder pad, which is still got your chapter information on it. And then they give you a silver shoulder pad and a silver arm, and that's Deathwatch 1. And then you're in the Deathwatch for, I don't know, a while. I don't exactly know the fluff behind how long you're there. And then eventually you can come back. If you survive, you can come back to your normal chapter, and then you paint your armor back the normal chapter color again, and you have your normal chapter. But then you still keep the Deathwatch shoulder pad, because that shows that you were in the Deathwatch at some point, and that's like your badge of honor. So yeah, the Deathwatch basically are just out there to kill aliens, which is cool. So, and they're very elite. They can take a lot of weapons in a small group, and, you know, like heavier stuff and things like that. So that's why I wanted to go with them for one of my kill teams. Let me see here. What else have we got? What else have we got? How long does this stream usually run? Usually till about 11 o'clock my time, which is about another half hour. Total about 2 hours. What else have we got? A bunch of talk about everything. Why is everyone obsessed with Deathwatch for kill team? I think it's because, like, for 35 bucks you can buy a box of 5 guys and that's your entire kill team. And a lot of people don't run Deathwatch as an army, so it's another one of those kind of dip your toe things where you'd be like, well, I've always wanted to try them out, but I don't want to build an entire army because, you know. So I think that's one of the big benefits too. What else have we got? Neon Seraphim says she looks badass. Yeah, I think that's going to work out well. She's got like a bun. There was another one that had like almost like a ponytail thing, but then you had to glue it separately. And I was like, well, that's just going to get stuck on the back of her, you know, whatever. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to painting those models up when I get them all ready to go and when I get back into paint mode. What else? Where can I buy the female head? It's a company called Statuesque Miniatures. They sell lots of different heads and all kinds of different types of like add-ons and bits. I think they're from the UK. Statuesque Miniatures. That's where I got mine from. Bob Johnquet says you can find a lot of alternate things like heads and such on Shapeways. That's also true. Oh, geez. Everything just kind of moved forward. Patrick says no. There's a lot of O's there. I can see them. I missed the show. I'm working on putting together Tempestus Scion kill team using Van Sar for models. Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. I think those Van Sars are awesome looking. So yes, you may have missed like the majority of the live show, but you can always watch it later. It's a 2-hour thing. It usually goes up into the normal channel rotation. It takes half hour to 45 minutes after it's done before it gets all processed by YouTube, but then you can just watch it later on. So yeah. Zebu Nation says there's a Deathwatch comic book on the shelves right now. It's up to issue 3. Huh, I did not know that. I should take a look. I'll have to go to my local thingy, my local comic shop, and find out about that. James says, Adam, I'm looking into getting a 40k army that I want to paint primarily black, not Deathwatch. Would you Zenithal highlight the models if you're going mostly black? So what I've done in the past when doing my Black Templar is I will prime them all black, and then I use my airbrush, and I use a dark gray airbrush paint. And I don't remember what color I use. I think actually I used to mix my own, but I'm going to try to see if I can't find something else, like a dark gray, like, Model Air Vallejo airbrush paint. And then I will kind of Zenithal, like spray them from above. So if this is, I don't have a model here. So if this is the model, I'm spraying it kind of, not straight down. I mean, I am spraying it a bit straight down, but I'm kind of going around it like at about a 45-degree angle, which then makes it fade from like dark gray to black. And then that's, for me, very frequently, sometimes then you throw a wash on it to, help, like a black wash or something like that. But having it be a little bit more subtle, like I don't generally like super high contrast, but I still believe in trying to definitely have some sort of like variation in that kind of thing if you can. So if you just paint them black, they look like they've been primed and you've never done anything with them. You may have gone through and done all the other details, but it looks like the armor you just painted it black and then went on with your day, which is basically what you did. So if you can spray and take care of it that way, I think it works out real nice. So yeah, that's kind of the trick. That's what I've done in the past. I would not use a white to do that for black, or even a regular mid-gray. I would try to use a dark gray probably, but it might take a little bit of testing on your part to see what works out best for you. If you can find a rattle can of like a nice dark gray, cool. I can't think of anybody. I don't know if there's like a dark gray even from Army Painter. I should look. Now I can think of it. But like I said, I'm probably just going to use my airbrush. So it's probably for the best bet. In my opinion, says Emperor, in my opinion, Deathwatch is almost meant to be played only as an auxiliary detachment or kill team. Yeah, I mean, you can run them as a full army, but it is, I don't know. Again, I don't know anything, or I don't know much about the tournament scene or anything like that, or competitive play, but I do know that they're a very unique, or not unique, well, they are a unique army, but they're also very elite. So it's a smaller army generally. But like as a kill team, I think they're perfect. I mean, honestly, that box that you buy, like I said, it's called Deathwatch Kill Team, and it's not related to the Deathwatch themselves they fight in smaller groups known as kill teams, which is kind of their whole point. Toby Spalding says, "I look forward to listening to your show every week on the way to work." Well, I'm glad to help your travels to work hopefully go a little bit quicker, or at least you get to hear me talk. I don't know, one of the two. Adrian says, "Adam, I finally made it live. I need some help on how to paint the buildings that came in the Kill Team box set." I'll probably make a video about how I did it, but just quickie off the cuff. I primed everything with a Krylon camouflage color. It's, I believe, the lighter of the two tan ones. And but that's only if you want to go with like a warmer kind of brown kind of paint. You could also use gray. You could use a lot of different things, but I primed it, with that stuff. And then I took a sepia wash, actually, like, how like there's the GW wash bottles that are the short ones, and now they make the double tall ones. I use an entire double tall bottle of that stuff. I bought it new because I'm like, oh, I should make sure I'm all stocked up, and I bought the double tall, and by the time I was done, it was basically almost dry. So yeah, so I painted the entire set, using that wash. And then I went back with a bleached bone color and a big kind of dry brush, and I dry brushed everything, just scrubbed back and forth in a lot of places, Sometimes I did it more just scrubbing down and not up to kind of make that light lit from above look. I did all of that, and then I used white, just straight up white, and did some dry brush on the very tops of like the columns and towards the tops of things, but then didn't do it as much towards the bottom again to give it that kind of fade. And then I took some dark browns and some orange colors, and I used them with a sponge, and just on like the parts that would be normally metallic, like the, I don't know, it looks like an air conditioner or whatever stuck to the side or whatever, I did some like kind of rust, like the paint that had flaked off. I did not paint those parts to be separate color from the building, because a lot of times, I mean, sometimes you see stuff like an air conditioning unit, it's a totally different color from the building, but a lot of times you see stuff that's stuck to the building, they just paint it to be the same color of the building. I figured they'd probably do that, and also I was kind of under a time crunch, so I did that. But I did want to make it look like maybe some of that paint has flaked off the metal, and so there you can see some rust underneath it, so I did a bit of that. And then, like I said earlier in the show, those floor pieces that are on the top of some of those pieces that I did, I just used Secret Weapon Wash's, their sapphire color, and just slopped it on there, and it worked amazing. It looked like marble, actually, because it was kind of weird and like darker in some spots and lighter in some other spots, and it worked out great. But you know, there's a lot of things you could do. You could go with a gray prime to start and then use a bunch of different colors and washes, but I would basically prime, wash, dry brush, maybe pick out details if you want to go that way, and then dry brush lighter, and then you're pretty much done. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Let me see here. Adam, do you think it's reliable to buy 2 easy build Reavers and Primaris, then an upgrade of Deathwatch parts to get a €35 kill team? Well, yeah, because you can, well, I don't know if you can use Reavers in Deathwatch, but you can use Primaris in Deathwatch. There is a thing, if you look at the Deathwatch section, there's a thing that says, hey, if you want to use Primaris, here's the information you need for it. But I don't know if you can use Reavers in Deathwatch. So yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. The 40k lowdown says, getting in super late today. Apologies if this has already been answered, but how different is Kill Team from the base game? So when they first announced Kill Team back in the early part of 2018, they were like, hey, Kill Team's coming out for 8th edition. Or they just said, hey, Kill Team's coming out. And everyone was like, yay, new Kill Team for 8th edition. And they said, well, I mean, it's not really based off of 8th edition. And everyone went, what? Why would you? Well, they were right, but they were wrong. What they meant was, you don't need 8th edition codex, 8th edition rulebook to play Kill Team like you did with all the other Kill Teams. 7th edition Kill Team, you needed to have the book and you need to have a codex, and so on. What they meant was, this one is self-contained. That being said, it is very much like 8th edition. It has some big differences. For one thing, in 8th edition, you roll off to see who wins initiative, and then you steal, hopefully, or whatever, and then it's that same order for the rest of the game. In Kill Team, first turn, you roll to see who has initiative. Second turn, you roll again to see who has initiative. Third turn, you roll again to see who has initiative. And that's not as big of a deal, because when it's the movement phase, person who has initiative, they move all their guys, and then the person who doesn't have initiative, they move all their people. So it's not like I do my entire turn, and then you do your entire turn. Like, movement is done, I do my moving, you do your moving. Then we get to shooting. And then I shoot a guy, you shoot a guy, I shoot a guy, and we alternate back and forth. So it's not as important, and it's not that whole first strike thing that you see in 8th edition still. So that's the big difference, is that you're very much more engaged because of the alternating activation and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, all the stats, I mean, I'm not saying they're the same as they are in 8th edition, like one-on-one, but a lot of them are quite a bit the same. But it's, you know, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, all that, all that stuff's there. The only other number that's in the stat line for any given unit is that at the very end after leadership, there's one called max, and that just means that if there's a dash, that means you can have as many of those things in your army as you want. But if there's, like, say 2 or 1 or 4, that means that of that particular thing, let's say it's a, you know, Space Marine gunner or something like that, you can only have 2 gunners, maybe. I'm just making that up, but that's a limit in your kill team of how many you can. So you can't just take all gunners or all snipers or whatever. Some of the units have limits. That's the only other kind of stat that really is the difference between 40k and 8th edition and Kill Team. In the Kill Team core set, can you make 100 points out of the Mechanicus in there? I did. Gonna pull up the old iPad again. Well, I mean, almost. Got 98 points. So, I'm starting with a Vanguard Alpha, who is my leader, and that person has got the... Is that even a person anymore? AdMax? Anyway. Vanguard Alpha with Phosphor Blast Pistol and Taser Goad. I like saying Taser Goad. Then I've got 3 regular Vanguards with the Radium Carbines. And then I have a Vanguard Gunner with the Plasma Caliver. Then I have 4 Rangers. 1 with a Galvanic Rifle, 1 with a Galvanic Rifle and an Omnispex, 1 with a Galvanic Rifle and an Enhanced Data Tether, and then last is the Ranger with Transuranic Arquebus, Gesundheit. And that comes to 98 points. So, and that's only 9 guys. So yeah, you can do 100 points with them straight out of the box if you want to go that way. A lot of people are saying it's very difficult to hit 100 points or even get super close with the Genestealer cults in that same box. And I think that that's true. You can get close-ish, but yeah. Now, there's a benefit to sometimes being under. If you're like 90 points or less, then I think you get you do get an extra command point. So that's kind of a benefit. But yeah, if you want to do 100 points or very close to it, you can do that with the guys that came in the AdMech that comes in the box. Sponico says, hello from Spain, very hot over here. I don't feel like painting with this weather. I generally paint in my basement, and the basement's usually cooler in the summer, which is great. In the winter, it is also cooler, which is problematic. So, yeah. Spelled angel, but I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. I think it may be Angel or Anel. Hello from Puerto Rico. We are playing in Learning Kill Team. Hashtag Alpha Legion. Well, that's cool. I'm glad to hear it. Where are we at? Okay. I'm trying to put together my Mechanicus kill team from the starter box, and I'm being held back by not being able to decide how to build them all. It's difficult. Yeah. I mean, that's always the case, is that when you want to sit down and try to do things like, you know, build a list or whatever, sometimes, I mean, that's part of the game known as list hammer, when you just sit there and look at the book and then you write things out on a note, or maybe you use an app or whatever. I guess technically Battlescribe now has kill team in it, but I tried building one yesterday for my Imperial Guards, and I could not give anybody a Voxcaster. So it's not without its bugs at this early, the data set at least is not without its bugs, because I could not figure out how to give, like in my list that I had written down, I was like putting it in because I'm thinking, well, this would be great because I could just print it out and have it with me. That'd be great. But there was no way for me to put a Voxcaster on anybody in the entire list. So I was like, well, that's weird. Anyway, so that's yeah, but that's the list hammer. That whole, there's a lot of people who just do that. Honestly, they just love to sit and build lists, and they maybe even don't buy models or whatever, you know, or they're like, well, I'm going to buy them eventually once I get the perfect list. The problem is that when you sit and work on the perfect list, you'll never get anything done because, you know, you'll be working on the perfect list, and then all of a sudden there'll be an FAQ that comes out that changes something, and you're like, oh, my plans are ruined, you know, and then you go from there, and it's a whole thing. So, yeah, that's kind of a trick. Terracotta 9 says, hello from the Sturgis Bike Rally. Hello! It's got to be very loud there, I assume, because it's motorcycles. But it's cool that you're checking in from the big bike rally. I think it's the biggest in America, probably. Sounds like it. Slinging David says, hello, Adam and Chad. I'm wanting to get into Kill Team, and was thinking about buying the Fangs of Ulfric set. My question is, will I be able to field the Fangs of Ulfric, but with different war gear? I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're giving you in that box. I mean, I know that they're giving you it's basically just Reavers. So I'm wondering if they're just giving you, I don't know if it's just the press fit Reavers or if it's something else. Well, we could do this. Let's go look at the internet. Games Workshop. And that thing. Whoa, check that out. Adeptus Titanicus. That's a pretty cool little video. Fangs. That one. Okay. So, looks like you get 5 guys. So, it's probably just a normal... Sorry. It's probably just a normal box of Reavers, I'll bet. Question mark? So you got a couple of those grapnel launcher things. Those are pretty cool. You got some guns and knives. There's not a lot to it. I mean, really, if we look in the book, the Reavers don't have a ton of stuff that they can do, really. You know, they're kind of... Grey Knights, Deathwatch, Death Astartes. A Reaver may replace their bolt carbine with a combat knife. Reaver Sergeant may replace their bolt carbine for a heavy bolt pistol. No, they can replace their bolt carbine or heavy bolt pistol with a combat knife. Model may take a grab shoot. Model may take a grapnel launcher. So yeah, there's not a lot of modification you can do with the Reavers to begin with, but it looks to me probably like that's just a normal Reaver box. Let's go here. Well, now see, the normal Reavers come 10 to a box. Very potentially, but see, yeah, you can see a lot of the same Scott poses. I'm wondering, because a lot of times they'll have like 2 sprues in that box, and there's 5 on each sprue, and I wonder if they're just giving you 1 sprue. You know what I mean? But then they're also giving you this doohickey here with the, you know, the cool little terrain and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of customization that you can do in the situation. With that, I think you're, I don't want to say you're stuck, but I don't know that there's a lot of customization. Boop, and I want to go over here to the chat. All right. Is Kill Team something that can be played sitting down? I've got a bad back, and standing over a table for 2 hours plus is a pain with a bad back. As a matter of fact, yes, I would say probably. You may have to get up once in a while if you're trying to make sure you can see, like, can this guy have line of sight to whatever. But because the board is so small, if you play on the standard board that comes in the kit, in the box, it's 22 inches by 30. So if you play where you're playing across the short way, then you can see, like, I mean, part of the reason they designed it that way is that so that the game can be played on a normal 6-foot table, like a 6-foot conference table that you see at game stores. That's where they play Magic usually, where it's like a 6-foot table by 30 inches across. And that's, I'm pretty sure, because the game can be played on that table, whether you take it the long way or the short way, I'm thinking that's the plan. One of the reasons I think they did that is because with X-Wing, you play it on a 3-foot by 3-foot, which does not fit on one of those types of tables because those tables are 30 inches across and not 36. So I think that was a smart move on their part. But yeah, if you've got the right table set up and everything, you should be able to play most of the game sitting down. Like I said, once in a while you might have to kind of get around and look to see if you've got line of sight. But I've also seen people back in the day when I used to watch Necromunda all the time at Gen Con when it was still in Milwaukee. There were guys that played using a dental mirror, which is one of those little tiny round mirrors like on a stick. They would use a dental mirror and a laser pointer, and then they would put the dental mirror like right down by their model, and then they would bounce the laser pointer off it to see if they could hit the laser onto the person they were trying to shoot. And if they could, then they knew that they had line of sight. So that was kind of cool. Chris Corky says the push fits don't have grapnel launchers. That is true, because I built some and they did not. So there's that. But yeah, so like I said, I'm wondering if because you're getting 5, I'm wondering if you're getting just one of the 2 sprues that shows up in the normal 10-man box. And I get the feeling that's probably what it is. I would be super surprised if they made a special sprue just for those boxes. It's more likely, like I said, they're just putting the different sprue in like there. Brian Griffith says that Reavers can be either stabby or extra stabby. It's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Clark Spear says, I can see the option for Voxcaster on Guardsman and Battlescribe. Maybe they updated it. Well, it was like 2 days ago, so I'll update it again, but I hope it shows up because it would be nice to be able to have it in there. Or I'm just doing it wrong. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'll double check. Let's see here. Hey Adam, I'm a college student and was wondering how I should manage my schedule to make time for painting and building. New to the hobby, I build Gundam occasionally and love your content. Well, thank you. I appreciate that you love the content. I would tell you to stop watching television. Honestly, like don't stop going to class if you're a college student. Obviously, you want to go to class. That's your important thing. And if you got like a job or something like that, go to your job. But one of the reasons that I am able to hobby and paint a lot more these days is because I don't watch television anymore. What I do instead generally is listen to podcasts or audiobooks, and then that's my entertainment, and I do it then while I'm painting. I'm doing two things at once. It's like I'm saving time. And yeah, honestly, like I still watch, YouTube and things like that. But YouTube's on when I want it to be on. And also it's generally a lot shorter. Every once in a while there's like long things, like this. But again, something like this, one of the reasons I do this is also because it acts almost as a podcast. So I know a lot of people are either painting and modeling right now while it's going on live, or I'm talking to you people who are watching this as a recording. It's like I'm talking into the future. People will just turn this on and listen to it while they're painting or hobbying or whatever. And so it acts then kind of like a podcast. That's generally, like, a lot of times when I talk to people who are like, man, I just don't have any time to paint. I just don't have any time to build and paint. I really wish I had more time to build and paint. If you ask them about like how things are going in Game of Thrones or all kinds of different, then they will be able to tell you very distinctly. And if I did a video about this years ago. If that's your hobby, watching television and movies and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong, but you can only have so many hobbies because you only got so much time in the day. So you kind of have to make a decision. And if you still want to be entertained and listen to stories and be involved in that kind of stuff, that's why audiobooks and things like that are great. I've been listening to the first book of Eisenhorn recently while I've been hobbying. That, and also I went back and started listening to, I had been all caught up with last podcast on the left, and then I hadn't listened for like a month and a half, so now I'm catching up again on that. Because they put out at least one video or one audio a week, one podcast a week. So I've been catching up on that. They just did a 3-part series about Men in Black, not the Will Smith movie, but the actual like phenomenon, and that was really kind of interesting. But anyway, so yeah, that's if you do that, if you switch to more of an audio-based entertainment, and then it gives you more time to paint and model and stuff like that, you can find the time. There's plenty of people out there who've got 2 jobs and 3 kids and then you just don't have much time at all, and I get that. This may not be the hobby that you're looking for. Like if you also sometimes just come home and are just exhausted and need to sit in front of the television and watch, which I totally get. But if you do have a normal amount of time, like a lot of people sometimes do, that's kind of how you have to sort of figure out how to kind of schedule the time that you have. Ol Redding says, I have both a pen laser and a dental mirror. This I got to try. Yeah, like I said, years ago, back in the day, I would watch guys play Necromunda at Gen Con, and they would build these, instead of like playing across a board with like some terrain, they would build these vertical pieces that looked like, I don't know, like almost like they would use all the stuff that they came into multiple of those boxes, but they built these very tall vertical pieces, and then you would be trying to see, can that guy see through this bulkhead and hit that guy? And then you get into your dental mirror and a laser, and the other guy on the other side would be like, oh yeah, no, you're hitting me with the laser, and then it's a whole thing. But yeah, it's a kind of an old school setup that I thought was kind of cool. Stormtrooper says, hey, Uncle Adam, thanks from Argentina. You're the reason I got into wargaming, and I'm enjoying this every day. I appreciate that. I really do, and I'm glad you got into it. As I've said, I don't know how many times, I feel that the hobby portion of it, at least for me, and hopefully for a lot of other people out there, is, I think it's a good hobby to get into. I think it's stress relieving. I think it can be kind of meditative almost, which a lot of people need in their lives, is to kind of focus and not, just to kind of, yeah. That's a big reason why I'm doing it, is because I want people to get into a hobby where they're working with their hands and they're creating and they're kind of dialing out the other stressful things they've got in their lives for at least a certain portion of their day. And that's where we're at. Richard says, Adam, love the Game 4 app. Thanks. Can conventions be added to it? We're working on that. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do that specifically, but we're working on it. One kind of workaround I would tell you to do is, since your convention is probably not at a game store, I would tell you to start a club for the convention. And then if you start a club, you can request that a public place that is not a store be added to the locations that your club can have events at. Let's say it's at an expo center or whatever, where you're going to be having your convention. You could then, through as the admin, you can go think and say, hey, I want to add a new custom location, and then you can put in the information, and then we get a thing that says, and when we look at it and go, okay, cool, that is a custom location, or that is a public location because we looked it up on Google and stuff. And then you could have your event and all that kind of stuff happening at that place, and that will at least get out into the to the listing. But we are definitely working on trying to figure out something for conventions, both big and small, to be able to work with us to be able to put their stuff in there. Potentially even making it so that not only does the event or like the actual convention show up in the list, but then when you tap on it and it opens up the page that explains what the event's about, it might then even have the events that are at the convention, you know, all the different games and stuff like that listed below, and then you be able to click into those. But yeah, that's a little bit down the road. That's what we're working at right now. It is 11 a.m. and I want to thank everybody for coming and sitting and kind of looking at my silly stuff and whatever. And I hope that everybody had a good time. I hope you got some painting done, got some building done. Hope you didn't glue your fingers together. I will, like I said, the schedule is pretty much back on track now for a while. Even with the traveling that I'm going to be doing over the next 2 months, I should be good as far as every other Sunday. And I'll keep making the Friday videos. I keep doing it. Coming up in October, I think it will be 3 years. I mean, I started the channel more than 5 years ago, but it was October of 2015 where I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to start doing it every Friday and not just when I remember to make a video. And I started doing it every Friday, and that really helped. It took me 2.5 years to get to 10,000 subscribers, and then once I decided, you know what I should do every Friday, and then it took me 9 months to get to 20,000, and then 6 months to get to 30,000, and then 5 months to get to 40,000, and so on. So yeah, so this upcoming in October will be 3 years of not missing a single Friday. I wish I could say the same for Sundays, but you know, it's the weekend. What are you going to do sometimes, especially when you're going to conventions? So anyway. And it's a live show. That's always the issue. Like I recorded the Friday show for, you know, the one that went up on while I was at Gen Con. I recorded that the week before, so that's fine. But live shows, you got to be there. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time.